I had Wendy's for dinner.
There you go.
Like me some Wendy's fries.
Here we go.
Excellent. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Monday, October 9th City Council meeting. I welcome you to join in a short mindfulness opening with me. So if you'd like to participate, you can look downward, sit quietly. So bring attention to your breath and relax your shoulders. Notice how you're sitting in your chair at home or in the city council chambers. Understand where your feet are on the floor, maybe planted firmly, crossed. Start paying attention to your breath. Take some deep inhales on your own. I like taking 3 big breaths as a group together. On that, counting 4 on your inhale, and 5 on your exhale. It's helpful. And at your own pace. Heart rate is starting to slow. Putting aside what was on your mind throughout the day, at work or at home, or wherever you were. Like opening our meetings to mindfulness breathing. It really helps me go from work to dinner, which is really quick on Monday council night meetings, to the council meeting. Helps me settle in and get ready to focus on official business with all of you. And I just really appreciate that you're all here and paying attention to government, participating, public audience, or watching at home a few days later on YouTube. Remember to wish yourself well. Send positive energy to your neighbor and who you're sitting next to in council chambers. Let's take one last cleansing breath. Inhale. Blow that out. I invite you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, can we have roll call, please?
James.
Here.
Leaks May. Mikulski.
Here.
Polika. Piana.
Here. And can we get excused absences for our council?
I move to excuse the absences of council members Leaks May and Polika.
Move and supported by the 2 people who can move and support. Roll call, please.
James.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Piana.
Yes. All right. Can we have approval of the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as published.
Moved by James and supported by Mikulski.
James.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Piana.
Yes. All right. There are no presentations tonight, so we're going to get fast to call the audience. And I ask folks to come up to the podium and limit your speaking comments to 3 minutes. And we have this helpful clock on the wall over here. And invite you to talk anything on or off the agenda.
Thanks. My name is Dan Martin. I'm at 1447 West Hazelhurst. I'm here with 3 hats tonight. The first is I'm pleased to announce that the Ferndale Community Foundation has released its grant applications for the 2023 year. we are going to be awarding a record-breaking $25,000 in grants to nonprofits and organizations within the city of Ferndale, dedicated to improving the well-being of just being here in Ferndale, to come live and play and do business in. The individual grants are limited to $3,000 up to, but even if it's a couple $100 for a small project your organization may have, we would love to support it. We support projects in arts, culture, education, healthcare, and any number of assorted different areas. So the application is on the city website. Thank you, Kara. And anyone can access that, and they are due on November 3rd. If there's any questions, my contact information is on the website as well with the application. Secondly, I am also very pleased to announce, as Executive Director of Ferncare Free Clinic, over the last 6 months, we've increased our patient capacity by almost 30%. There's a lot of need in the community right now with Medicaid redetermination and folks just not knowing to go without insurance. So we've added an additional 2 clinic sessions a month to make appointments to. And again, this is totally free healthcare to anyone who has no insurance and is over the age of 19. So the easiest way to make an appointment is to call Ferncare at 248-677-2275. And we are continuing with our partnership with Ascension, and you can also schedule yourself for mammograms at Ferncare once a month through the end of the year and well into next year as well. So a lot going on at Ferncare. It's tight, but the need has really never been greater, and we just have an amazing group of volunteers there. And then lastly, you have before you on the consent agenda an application for the Housing Commission. Ms. Dana Park is applied, and she's no stranger to the Housing Commission. She's been in and out and tangentially with us for the last couple of years. She's got an amazing background, nationally and internationally, in public health as well as in community housing. So as president of the Housing Commission, I'd like to respectfully ask your endorsement of her appointment to the Housing Commission when you get to the consent agenda. Any questions?
Oh, it's great to see you, and thanks for being here.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Hi there, welcome.
Greetings, everyone, and my name is Tim Brennan, and I live at 2605 Highland in Ferndale, and I'm just happy to be a resident of Ferndale. I'm also representing the Ferndale Community Concert Band tonight, and I just wanted to make the announcement that the band is putting on, starting its 23-24 season this year, and our first concert is on October 22nd. And the title of this concert is Ghoulish Grooves. And I just want to draw your attention to one specific piece that we'll be using, a theremin. It's an electronic instrument, and it's going to be a very cool show, and I hope everyone can come out. There's cards that tell about our season on the back table, if anybody would care to take one tonight. And thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Tim. Hi there.
Good
to see
evening,
you.
council members and mayor. My name's Jane Van Dusen, and I live at 594 Withington, and I've lived here about 10 years now. I'd like to focus your attention on the ever-growing rat problem in the city of Ferndale. I happen to go on the Facebook page that Councilwoman Mikulski has. Frankly, it's heartbreaking. The intrusion in homes and cars and just everywhere of rats is really becoming a tremendous problem. And 2 issues that I see as paramount. One is the food sources that they receive from open garbage cans. Most people do not put out lidded garbage cans in the community. They either have an open can or they put out plastic bags. And I frequently see those in the morning after a night of scavenging, ripped apart, and that is one of the main sources of the rats' food supply. So lidded cans are really rarely used, as I see around the town, similar to the ones that you use for recycling. The lids, the bins with the lids. You rarely see people using those for trash, just mainly recycling. And number 2 is the just a lack of management by, for example, I live near Ferndale Foods, and I also live near Big B Coffee and that strip mall there. And there was a Click Fix, ticket that was put in on October 2nd, commenting on the fact that all the bins, there was trash on the ground at that strip mall. That was October 2nd. I went by there today, and it's still the same situation, and the bins that are behind the Big B are all open. So those are just a rat feeding ground. The same thing is true at Ferndale Foods. The big bins that, the big trucks come and dump, open lids. I've been reading some articles about other communities that have a rat problem. I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but, there's studies out there. I'll just read you this. People don't like rats, but what truly surprised you is that more than crime or other signs of urban decay, they make people depressed. I'm very depressed. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Is there anybody else here who would like to make a public comment tonight? All right, seeing none in the audience, we're going to move on to our public hearings, and we have 3 tonight, unfortunately cannot combine them even though they are like-minded. So we have 4 steps to a public hearing, which is first step is opening it up to staff presentation or an applicant, but there really isn't an applicant tonight, it's us. Open it up to public comment, and then council ask questions, and then we move into motion and debate. Roger.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Stepping up.
So Emily is going to introduce the item and walk you through a little bit of the item, and then I'm going to get up and talk about strategy and some other things. So.
Okay, so this is 6A, approval of the public hearing and the reprogramming of Community Development Block Grant, which we also call as CDBG, funds for tree planting to code enforcement, 1 of 3 tonight.
Good evening. Tonight's public hearings are regarding a reprogramming of CDBG funds from previous years to expedite spending and to ensure that we are fulfilling and adhering to HUD, which is the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development standards, and Oakland County standards for delivering project timelines in a timely manner. For background, for those who might not be familiar, would like a refresh. Each year, the city applies for CDBG projects in an amount that over the last 15 years has averaged between $80,000 and $100,000. This number is determined by HUD and using census data from the decennial census, which happens every 10 years, as everybody remembers. We had one in 2020, and then it's refreshed on a biannual and then deeper basis every 5 years. These numbers will inform the average eligibility of a city and individual sections of it for use of funds for projects, or in the case of that larger number I spoke of, the overall allocation that would go to a community like Ferndale. So sometimes we might see our neighboring communities and see that they have fewer residents but larger funding, or more residents and considerably less funding, and that's going to be based off of their demographics, of their economics. These now, HUD has a strict, and I'm going to say that because we're going to say the word HUD a few times. I know I said it before, but it's the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development, but HUD for short. I don't want to lose anybody with too specific language. HUD has strict regulations on the use of CDBG funds, and that they must only be used explicitly for approved projects. And specifically when I'm saying tonight, the programs that we were discussing, which would be reprogramming to code enforcement, from tree planting, minor home repair, and home buyer down payment assistance. All these items are specific HUD designated, defined, and created programs. So there is a very, I don't want to say narrow window, but a rigid framework in which a community would have to adhere to just ensure success for the project, but also maintaining the federal guidelines and county standards. The programs that we are discussing, while they are directly informed by HUD, they were chosen to move the city's goals forward, always done with the oversight of the Oakland County Department of Neighborhood and Housing Development. In that spirit, every step of the reprogramming, the content, and the decisions we have vetted with the Department of Neighborhood and Housing Development to ensure that everything is, that we're following the proper timelines and procedures. The programs that we are seeking to reprogram would be 6A, tree planting to code enforcement. 6A is the number on the agenda item. Agenda item 6B, minor home repair to code enforcement. And agenda item 6C, home buyer down payment assistance funding to code enforcement. And I'm just going to do a brief overview of what is code enforcement for those who might not be familiar. The Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 and CDBG regulations allow for the funding of code enforcement developments. Specifically, HUD cites in a codified section 105A3 of the HCDA, which for those who want to follow along, the use of CDBG for code enforcement in deteriorated or deteriorating areas in which such enforcement, together with public or private improvements or services to be provided, may be expected to help arrest the decline of an area. I appreciate the opportunity to bring these here and present to all of you. And with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to CED Director Roger Caruso. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
All right, so what did Emily just say? Let me, I've taken a couple notes of things to talk about. The first is that the county, who's the fiduciary of the funds and passes them on to the city, they also oversee us, do not like to see the city have more than 1 to 1.5 times unspent funds. So they don't like us to have more in the bank and us not spending it. So currently our allocation is about $90,000, $86,000, $87,000. Means they don't really want us to have more than $90,000 to $135,000 unspent. As of a couple months ago, we had 3.5 times unspent funds. We've drawn down, because we did have projects that were in the works, to about 3 times, a little less than 3 times right now. So the county is pressuring the city, or applying a little bit of pressure, to get us to spend the money that we said we would, some of it dating back to 2019. The main reason we haven't spent the funds is COVID, complicated working with contractors to get some of the projects done. So that's the first thing, is we have to bring the number down. The second thing to note is when you're using federal dollars, the more creative you get in your programs, the more creative they get in oversight. It increases the chances of being audited, more paperwork due. All that means more staff time. So really simple projects, we can efficiently expend the dollars, but more complicated projects, we have to go through the entire process. So for example, public service at this point is 30%. We can spend up to 30% of our money in public service, like Haven. That's a really easy thing to do. We allocate $10,000 to Haven. Council approves it. We reach out to Haven. We ask for an invoice and bills proving they've spent $10,000. They give it to us. We give it to the county. The county reimburses us. We give it to Haven. Very simple. Down payment assistance is much different. We have to create an entire policy for that. What are the due dates for the applications? Who qualifies? How will we determine who's eligible? How will we prioritize people? Is it first come, first serve, or is it spread out, whoever applies? So when you do programs that are creative, it creates a lot more staff time. You know, in general, if the programs as outlined, I would anticipate would take about 1/3 to 1/2 of a staff member. you're talking about $25,000 to $40,000 to administer $90,000. That's a lot of staff time for not a lot of money. You're taking general fund dollars to pay for somebody so that you keep as much money in CDBG to deploy. You could use the CDBG money to offset staff time, but then you're reducing the $90,000 down to $60,000, and you have even less money to spend. So my goal is to find projects which we can efficiently use the CDBG dollars quickly, efficiently, and a much more easier program. I do want to talk about a couple other things. Currently, we are allowed to do 4 programs. So yard services could be one, home buyer assistance, tree plantings. Every year is a little bit different what we've recommended, but you can have up to 4 programs. Some of them are simple. Like I mentioned, Haven, that would be a program. That's pretty simple. But home remodeling, it's a program, but you might have 5 or 6 or 7 people qualified under there. And the people that generally need help, honestly, are the ones who need the most resources, staff time. It becomes even more difficult because you have a program that you have to work with, but now you have 7 individuals. So talking about why do we want to move it over to code enforcement. Code enforcement is very easy. We have reportings. Our system reports how much activity is done in a census tract that qualifies. So we can easily determine how much of our code enforcement time is spent in there. And since we've already paid that person for previous years, we can easily pull pay stubs, give it to the county, and get reimbursed quickly. I think it's important to note that this would simply be to right the ship and get our numbers back where they need to be. If council desired in the future, because of this, that there were extra funds in the city budget, a similar number to what the code enforcement reimbursement would be, and there's a program you want to do, we could absolutely do some kind of program. I think Joe will talk about that. I should also note that the county is retaining some money for home remodeling rehabilitation. So what the county has told us is currently they are acting as our home remodeling entity to expend some of the dollars. But what they've said is we have 2 choices. We either need to create our own program and we administer it, or if the county wishes, or the council wishes to allocate some money towards home remodeling, you can do that, but it would go to their county-wide program, and there is no guarantee it would be spent in Ferndale. So it would be spent in other communities. What they're willing to do, since we've already allocated some funds, is to use a small amount, so let us reallocate some of the money, but leave some behind for them to administer. But after this year, we either have to make our own program, which would be very cumbersome, or again, give them the funds. So we are leaving, what you don't see is about $100,000, I think $380 for the county to administer to Ferndale residents. Generally, how it works is however we get a lead on a person needing assistance, whether that be a code enforcement action, council heard of somebody, a neighbor calls us, however it is that we hear that somebody needs assistance, we direct them to the county. They call the county, they explain their situation, and the county has a program where they provide a $19,000 loan for remodeling, I should say remodeling, home stabilization to make it livable. So the county will go out, they have these staff resources, they will determine what is needed in the home, a new furnace, some plumbing, a new roof, whatever it might be. They will find the contractors to visit the site, they will get all the bids. Generally, the needs of the home are greater than the $19,000. So then they have to prioritize what's really important right now to keep the person in the home or to stabilize the home. But in those instances where the improvements have exceeded $19,000, they call us to say, hey, you have money in your home remodeling program. Would you mind switching over to the county and we'll administer it for that Ferndale resident? So we do have 5 or 6 residents that are currently in the program that are either pulling money from it right now or in line to pull money. But we are leaving $100,000, I think 380 is the number, behind for that program. The county is, I think the federal government and the county is changing the rules for future years. So currently we're allowed to have 4 programs. They're wanting us to go down to 2 programs, which makes it really difficult to expend the dollars, especially when under code enforcement if we don't have that big of a department. But we'll deal with that. they're going to, in the future, go down to 2 programs, and public service can only be 15%, not 30%. So we'll be working out that. But that's kind of the gist of today's presentation, is to reallocate the money, to reduce the 3 times unspent money, to get it down quickly, so that we can get back within the county's parameters for the program.
Okay. So that explanation kind of covers all 3 public hearings, right?
Yes.
Okay. But we're specifically on the tree planting to code enforcement. I'm going to open it up for the public to provide comments on this particular item and invite you to come to the podium. If there's anybody here who would like to speak.
My name's Chris Vandemer. I live at 1692 Jarvis in Batter Heights. I'm glad we talked about trees because I'm surrounded at the Young's property. They're older people and they have giant trees at their house. And my thoughts were to suggest a recycling program. There's a pine tree like 200 feet long. There's a birch tree that are very invasive. I mean, they're nice trees, but they're not good when they're shooting pine cones and needles and destroying your concrete through the root system. My thoughts were maybe with the surplus of cash that maybe we do communal tree recycling to where some of the money goes to cutting down the giant trees, that if you cannot afford to have them removed, that the lumber money be put back into a different fund and routed through the community to put smaller trees up for the community. It's just a thought. It's a good idea for recycling, I feel, and it's something I think council and Roger should think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Is there more comment on this item? All right, I'm going to close the public hearing on 6A and then turn it over to council members to ask questions of staff.
Well, through the chair, just focusing on the funds that were previously allocated for a specific tree planting program. This one, as I worked my way through the 3 items, appears to be the oldest, and my powers of deduction suggest that there's the shortest timeline to spend these dollars, but I could be wrong about that. Can you give me a feel for when the sort of deadline on the specific tree planting funds is, if there is a deadline?
So there's not a prescribed deadline. It's just the county saying you have to start spending the money.
Gotcha.
At this point, out of the, I don't know how many communities they are the fiduciary for, like 50, we're in last place. So we don't have a deadline. It's just the longer we go, the more chance they get that the feds would audit them, ask why, pull funding in the future years, all things we want to avoid. Regarding the tree planting, I wasn't here then, but my understanding is maybe Aaron worked towards a tree program or a tree planting, that we may have planted trees along Hilton. I think Emily can speak to that. So I think we intended on doing it, found another source, and then never came back to address this.
Yeah, I mean, candidly, that's my understanding. I remember when this was approved, and there are trees there now, so I never gave it another thought. But I guess given that we do have the infrastructure sort of through DPW to actually plant trees, I'm poking on this one a little bit more because there are so many spots along the east side of the city, especially along 9 Mile, that every time I drive through, I just think, God, couldn't this use some trees? I guess sort of what's the barrier, I suppose, to redeploying those funds and planting some trees? We're kind of in the season where that could be done right around now, but I don't know what the process is for obtaining the trees and redeploying staff to do it.
It's difficult. So first we have to come up with a program. They can only be used in the census tracts, so we have to come up with a program, go visit a site, determine how many we can space, where they're going to be, what kind of trees they're going to be. And then then fall into prevailing wages, Davis-Bacon Act, contractors that are only qualified, we'd have to put out an RFP, we'd have to get many contracts back, we'd have to rate them, so this would not be able to be deployed.
So
What
more
you-
complicated than I suppose.
Much more than we all thought. What you could do is allocate it to code enforcement, right? Submit the bills to the county, get reimbursed. The general fund will be $30,000 healthier than it was. And then if the council wished to take a similar amount outside of CDBG to honor that and do tree planting where we could more freely do it, that would be an option. So if you wanted to still honor it, we could down the line a little bit.
Okay.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, so through the chair, might be a question less for you, more for this end of the dais. If we wanted to sort of make that decision here, that yes, we'll reallocate the funds to code enforcement today, but that we want the general fund dollars that this money offsets to be dedicated for tree plantings, particularly in areas that have combined sewer overflows and other good reasons to plant trees. I guess, what's the best way for us to honor that commitment, should we choose to make that commitment tonight?
Yeah, through the chair, my preference would be to come back with an actual policy. I'm seeing, policy lessons we got to make for CDBG. I want to confer with Roger, the finance director, to come up with a policy on preferred general fund oriented services and investments as a way to do that. I would feel strongly about the policy, but I can also commit to doing that within the next 2 council meetings.
I like that recommendation, but I would, number one, I don't have a question, I have more comments. I'll hold back. Do you have any?
I have a few questions. So through the chair, it sounds like if we are using CDBG funds for a public service, it can be anywhere in the city. And if we are using it for residential services, it has to be in the census tract. Is that accurate?
No, not quite. So I believe citywide, you can use it for a senior or someone who is low income. So if it's like a home remodel, it can be anywhere if somebody's a senior and qualifies or low income. If it's a improvement like trees, playground equipment, then it can, I think, only be done in the census tract that are distressed.
If we explored things like, I happen to notice rodent harborage on here. If we explored something like that, would that fall under improvements or under services?
It wouldn't fall under either, because if you reprogram the money for code enforcement, and then 2 or 3 months from now, you realize that you have a similar amount of money because of this that you would like to spend on rodent issues, you can spend it anywhere you want in the city. It would just be general fund dollars. So you're not spending the CDBG dollars on rodent. Code enforcement would be justified under code enforcement and paid. And then if the council realized that the general fund was healthier because of this and wanted to do some program, you don't have any restrictions. You can spend anywhere in the city. You could do EV charging stations, you could do playground equipment, you could do stormwater management, tree plantings. It would just be like a normal budget item, with direction from the city administrator, on the next council's policies and what they want to do.
So through the chair, back to the policy question. So if we want to allocate funding after we do something like this, where we allocate it to code enforcement, if we want to put a policy in place, is that something that this council body needs to come up with the topics for the policies? Or is that something that we should push out to the next council, since we will have 2 new council members?
Through the chair, I can punt that back. That's a council decision. But policy, I think, the fact that we're here tonight makes me as the administrator want to deliver a policy draft sooner than later. And that said policy, I mean, really, we're just talking about budget adjustments, right? So, I mean, the budget adjustment will happen inevitably in the new year as well. So we'll have better information and policy. I can give you a policy draft soon, but we will always have more clarity about that as we go into the new year.
And through the chair, I'm sorry, I feel very fuzzy on this. So the policy would be a broad policy about the use of funding or specific topics?
Yes, with what we're talking about, we should have some governance language on funding related to this. So,
Specific topics.
yes, I think so.
May I follow up on that explanation of how I'm hearing it? So every year, as part of the CDBG approval process that comes to council, usually there's a slate of how much we get and how we're going to use it, right? We are repositioning that from what we've done in the past. It's going to code enforcement, right? And rather than getting a presentation from staff on the programs that we'll pay for, like Haven is on there and minor home repair, right? That just all goes to code enforcement now. There will be one presentation, like council will only approve the money. And then a new policy will be written about how those funds will be used. Is that correct?
So kind of. So the request before you today is all the allocated funds from previous years.
Yep.
2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. That's already been allocated, that's done. Future years, we still have to bring you an allocation request, and that will be, our recommendation will be based on what we hear from the county going forward, which what we hear is only 2 programs going forward, and 15% can be to public service. So the next time we bring you it for the following year, we'll have to address that, but this is only for previous years. This is
Okay.
previously agreed to stuff.
Yeah, so we're repositioning for, in the future, from 4 programs down to 2. And,
Potentially.
But the future council should expect the same presentation from staff.
Absolutely.
But the policy will help allocate where that money goes. Or programs.
No, the policy, I think that he's thinking, would deal with the past.
It's going to be a little bit of both.
It's gonna, yeah, it's gotta be a little
It
bit
has
of
to
both.
be it's going to be a forward-leaning policy, but the policy itself is going to talk about how the city council might have options to spend dollars that offset code enforcement investment, I think is what we're talking about here.
Yeah, because if we just did a policy for the past, that's the one-time policy, will never be used again. We need a policy for the future, right? Which
That
is
covers
what-
it, staffing, administration,
Yeah,
and reporting to Oakland County as well.
yeah, okay. That is helpful. I know CDBG is very complicated.
It is.
I was part of a team on CDBG in my job, and I was like, oh my God. It is super bureaucratic. So I can understand how this happened, but I'm glad there's a path forward to readjust here. And going back to tree planting, I think there's a future conversation is how do we make this program a little bit more robust. I keep hearing about it all the time, about how do we make our tree program. And I have a little bit more to say during call to audience or call to council on that. So with that, are there any other questions? Would you guys like to go into motion? Feel comfortable? Hey,
I gotta get to it. Clicked on another one. All right, so just addressing the first one, I move to approve, move to approve the public hearing and the reprogramming of community development block grant funds from tree planting to code enforcement as submitted by the building inspector.
or moved by James, supported by Mikulski. Any other comments here before we roll?
Through the chair, a quick comment. I really do feel like I appreciate the effort to make a policy and put something together. I really think that there will be a lot of input that we see in 2024. We have 2 new council members, and I truly hope that we are able to pick some topics then, as well as leverage the topics that we've already established.
Yeah, historically,
Absolutely.
yeah. Historically, it's been a slate of the same programs with a couple innovative ones in there, trying new things. And I think some have worked and some have not, and we move on and we try something else. So we've experimented a little bit based off of needs, particularly through COVID in the past. My question is about submission for reimbursement. Are we getting on a regular cadence there, or what is the expectations from the county?
Yeah, so they, like yard services, for example, we get billed with every Make Snow event. We used to wait until the end of the year when we received all of it, when all the snow, the snow season was done, then we'd submit. They want them more consistently monthly, so we can clear out money.
Okay.
These ones, if approved by council, all of these, tomorrow, I think Wednesday, we will submit to the county the resolution so that they know it was reprogrammed. And then by probably mid next week, I will submit them 2019 fiscal year, 2020, 21, 22, all the documentation to get reimbursed quickly. So we can clear up, I think the total is 153,000 from the 280.
Okay.
So we're going to clear this up very quickly. And then in the future, they want it more regularly.
Okay. So internal process changes as well.
Yeah, and with two programs that are simpler, it's going to be much easier. And 15% public service, it just becomes much simpler. They have, I think, 50 communities or so. So you can imagine if they have 4 programs per community, that's 200 programs they're managing. So they themselves need to simplify the administration of the CDBG funds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, motion on the floor, let's roll.
James,
Yes.
Mikulski,
Yes.
Piana,
Yes, and that passes unanimously. And so I am closing the public hearing on 6A at 7:43, and at 7:43, I'm opening the public hearing on 6B, which is the approval of the public hearing and reprogramming of CDBG funds for minor home repair to code enforcement. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Emily.
Yes, I know we have 3 public hearings in a row, so I'll do my best to not be redundant, but I promise by the 3rd one, I won't say and lose my train of thought. So I'm going to get really good by the end of this. For the use of minor home repair to code enforcement, again, the goal is timely spending with, I always like to offer explanations, not excuses. With minor home repair, we've seen good luck using the allocated funds to support the homeowner loans, as Roger had referenced. Someone approaches the county, asks for the lien-based income qualifying loan. The county makes the evaluation on the home. So you might approach them for a water heater, but they say, well, we're not going to put a water heater in a home without a roof, but you do need hot water. So the county will then reach out to us and say, can we have minor home repair funds to cover the $18,000 roof and the $3,000 water heater? That's the situation we've been able to use these funds to move those priorities forward. And that being said, that we see that's a very effective use of CDBG dollars going to aid individuals. And again, I would suggest anybody who wants to know if they might be eligible for these programs or would like to pass the information on to somebody who might qualify. They don't have to be a Ferndale resident, just an Oakland County resident. But it is the Oakland County Department of Neighborhood and Housing Development. And I mean, one of their technicians is a Ferndale alumni, Pete. He was here, I think, 25 years ago, and he's still serving Ferndale in that capacity. So with that, if there are any more questions about the movement of minor home repair to code enforcement, I'm happy to answer them before we open the...
First, I gotta open it up for public hearing.
Well,
then we'll come
before,
back to
I just want to...
So let us hear from residents first on this item, and I'll open it up for public comment. So if there's anybody here who would like to give public comment on the reprogramming of CDBG block funds over to minor home repair to code enforcement. All right, seeing none, I will close public comment and bring you back up, Emily, and open it up for council for questions.
Through the chair. So this is the one that I have promoted the most within our community, and I feel like I need some clarification on it. So the minor home repair program, is that, since it's improvements, is that only in the census area? Or does that expand out to seniors and low income?
That would be anyone who income qualifies. And if, for clarification, income qualification is based off of the HUD data for our specific region, as I referenced earlier.
Okay.
And that information is all available at City Hall, but also online with Oakland County's Neighborhood and Housing Development Department. So people could see the number of individuals in the household and the required income to qualify for these programs.
And so if one of those individuals who knows about this program approach the city, their first step is then to be referred back to the county for the housing stabilization loan? Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that is a lien-based loan, so it comes off of the value of the home sale. So you wouldn't be paying, let's say, $200 a month. No, it comes off the value of the home at the time of disposition.
Which to me is very distasteful, but that's neither here nor there. The question that I would have is, so it feels like with the minor home repair program, the only time that we would be using those funds currently, in its current iteration, before making any sort of policy adjustments, would be if those individuals exceeded the $19,000 of the lien-based loan for the housing stabilization. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay. Okay.
I know all councils, the 14 years I've been on city council, have valued and prioritized home repair. So I know this is an important program for income qualified residents.
So through the chair, can I ask one more question? Does it have to be like that? Do we have to refer them to Oakland County for the lien-based loan rather than have them do minor home repair through our program?
Yeah, we don't have a program in place, so the only way it can be administered is through the county. I can check with the county to see if they would have, like if they have a grant program, a non-loan, that they would be there.
Mm-hmm.
But if the county wasn't going to be in there for the lien program, it would have no reason to be in there.
Okay.
It's unlikely. If they say, yes, we would be in there, we'd be willing to administer it on one-offs, then we don't mind. I can check in with the county. But generally, the lien program discussion results in the county coming in, results in them analyzing the property, results in them realizing it needs more money than the lien program offers, gets them to use the grant. We could explain to them that we don't care if you go up to the $19,000. If you only gave a $5,000 lien but needed a little bit more from our money, we'd be willing to do that. It's just usually I know they've hit the max of 19 and they're asking for more. So we can push them to see if they would loosen that up so it doesn't require the lien, and it would be up to them.
So through the chair, and I promise this should be the last, an example. I'm going to start with an example. If somebody had a minor home repair in their crawl space, because again, they had rodent harborage issues where rodents were getting into their home, chewing in through the floor. And let's say that they don't have any other issues, like a hole in the roof, or no water, or whatever. And it's just that sort of thing. If we had a minor home repair policy and program in place here, and policy that allowed for it, could we theoretically, instead of having them go through the housing stabilization and the lien-based loan first, could we theoretically have them apply to our program and reimburse them, or however that works operationally, without them having to go to that level where they're basically taking out a lien on their home?
You could, if we had an entire policy that spoke to that. And then again, we'd have to manage that program. The way you're making it sound would be a simple repair, a more simple repair, which means then we'd have even more people qualifying, and the staff time to expend $2,000 25 times would be really cumbersome. But generally, we also have a lot of people in the community that have major roof problems. So if it's a more minor thing, we would have to err on somebody doesn't have heat in their home. That takes precedent a lot more. So that's where the policy comes in, where you'd have to evaluate what priorities win over which ones. Is it first come, first serve? And that's simply it. Because there's lots of homes in the community that roofs have holes in them, heating systems aren't working at all, plumbing isn't working. Those would be big priorities to address. So short answer, kind of yes, but we don't have a program in place.
I've got one more. So through the chair, these homes with holes in the roof, are they applying?
Yeah, so we currently have, I think, 5 people that are working with the county through the LEAN program that improvements are needed beyond that. So out of the 100,000 that will be remaining with the county, or remaining with us for the county to use, I believe about 70,000, 60 to 70,000 is already earmarked for people that are already in the system, leaving some money left behind. But we know how costs are today. So it's not hard to need $30,000 to make your home livable again. At a $20,000 lien, $19,000 lien, if we have 30,000 left, we're helping 2 or 3 people, 2 or 3 homes. So there's just not a lot of money from the program. But we are leaving some behind to provide them some flexibility to, for any future people who apply, to have some funds to use.
Through the chair, can you explain a little bit more about what funds are being left behind with the county for minor home repairs?
Sure.
Just because the simple printout that we have in our agenda really only speaks to the allocation that we're considering redeploying to code enforcement.
Sure. So for 2019, we're leaving behind 10,050. For 2020, we're leaving behind 40,000. 2021, 30,000. 2022, 20,000. For a total of $100,050. The 2019 money, I know that I think for 2019, 2020, and maybe even a little of 2021, they already have people in the program.
Okay.
So they don't mind if the money's left behind because they know they're in control of it and they trust themselves to spend it. They don't want us leaving it behind, that we tell them we will work on it because we haven't. So they're going to clear up 2019, 2020, and probably most of 2021 on their time schedule that they can work with. So I think there might be, I would have to go look at the number, 10,000 left from 2021 and maybe 20,000 from 2022 that they can use at any point, anytime. They can ask us.
And I know that you can't make commitments on behalf of the county, but I guess what are the best tools in your opinion that we can use to ask the county to be a bit more flexible in administering these funds?
Sure, we'll have a conversation with them tomorrow to ask. The only way I know that they've approached us is when they're out of money on the lien. They say, wow, we're not getting everything done, but the city has money, let's call them. So if they say, somebody calls us, they aren't a good candidate for the lien for whatever, they don't want to do it, but we're still willing to go out there and look at their home and use some of the city's monies to help that, then we're for it. It doesn't matter to us how they do it. I just historically know it's when they've expended all the lien money or walk into it and know they need more than that they come ask us. So if they'll provide us the flexibility, we would tell them that's perfectly fine with us.
And do we have any neighbors, neighboring communities who are doing some in-house administration of these kinds of programs that we could potentially partner with to reduce the cost to us for administering them, but maybe have some more flexibility? And
Maybe a question for Emily. I don't know what cities do
I know the past few years, in particular, have impacted the service delivery of minor home repair across the community, like not just Michigan specific. The challenges facing it is each minor home repair project is capped at a maximum of $5,000. So I know the Habitat for Humanity of Oakland County had been a leader in exercising minor home repair programs for other communities, operating as a vendor, which would include maintaining wait lists, monitoring priorities, and assessing which jobs come first, and then income eligibility. I couldn't speak to their current availability, as of fall of 2023. But I know historically in the past, they had operated, at least as far back as 2020, as a municipal vendor. But yes, unfortunately, I'm unfamiliar with any current programs that are operating similar to the county.
I would say the county probably would frown on us saying in the 11th hour, I know we haven't spent the money in years, but now we're going to talk with Habitat and start a new program and try to get them on board. I mean, the county wants us to expend the dollars now, quickly.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't have any questions, but I have a comment, but I'll wait till the motion is.
All right, I move to approve the public hearing and reprogramming of community development block grant funds from minor home repair to code enforcement by building inspector.
Support by James, supported by Mikulski.
Is the movement, can I comment first?
Sure, go ahead.
Just sort of wrapping up that last little point that we were just talking about. While I favor doing what we have to do now in order to spend down the money so that we're not prevented from getting money in the future, I do hope that, I guess moving into the future, if the future council especially and the CED department looking into next year and beyond, can maybe look at some other community models or communities to partner with, or nonprofits to partner with to administer this program more efficiently and flexible for residents. I think we'd look forward to that if it's possible.
Thank you. And my comments are following up. So, I know how difficult it is to do home service delivery support services, because and it's been 4 years, but I helped put together the home services for Jefferson East Inc. on Detroit's east side as one of the nonprofits, 9 nonprofits that are delivering wraparound home services. And if you usually need a roof repair or a porch repair, you usually need other types of financial empowerment services to help you through that. And the paperwork alone, just to apply for a loan or a home repair, is something that you do need staff time to walk and handhold a homeowner through, particularly if they're a senior. Also all of the income requirements, the amount of documentation that a homeowner has to produce to prove who they are and how much they make is intensive. And so I have wanted us to expand these types of services here too, but I realized how intensive it was, and for $90,000 a year up to $100 is what is our CDBG allocation. We just don't have the wherewithal of staff capacity to provide these wraparound support services that I think you're interested in, providing. And so I shifted my thoughts around that. I can't make staff squeeze out more programming for capacity they don't have as a council person, nor can I make the city manager do it either. But I do believe there has to be a new model formed out there. I think larger cities like Southfield have the capacity to do bigger, broader programs like this, but we don't know what the scope is because our funding has been so limited. It can't help, I think, the full scope of services needed and the number of homeowners needed. So I would first recommend the county do an assessment of how many people or how many homes based off of age that have an improvement or their SEV value increase due to a home improvement would be a place to start, to at least targeting where would we partner and how would we partner and how many homes are we really talking about. So I think I see a future where something has to be different to provide these services because I think CDBG is so partnering. I go back to partnering is really true. And nonprofits have been doing this type of service at least in Detroit. So that's my position on that. Figure it out. Hopefully it can change. All right. Roll call.
James,
Yes.
Mikulski,
Yes.
Piana.
Yes. All right. I am closing public hearing 6B at 8:02 and now opening up the public hearing for 6C, approval of the reprogramming of CDBG homebuyer down payment assistance funding to code enforcement.
Hello? Yes, item 6C, home buyer down payment assistance funding to code enforcement. This was a program particularly that proved quite challenging to place a vendor willing to execute it among current market prices. Historically, we asked for CDBG funds. For example, the funds we're going to ask for in the autumn of 22 might arrive in the autumn or the early winter of 2025. So what we're asking for, so the timeline of when we apply versus the funds are released can be a larger period of time, and unfortunately, economic landscapes can change in that. And the home buyer down payment assistance, which was originally envisioned to provide not the entirety of a down payment on a home, but to provide a portion. The original allocation was $12,015 per year. The plan was to provide a $1,000 and change opportunity to each income qualifying individual who's looking to purchase a home in the city of Ferndale. Unfortunately, we couldn't find a vendor that found it feasible to execute that program among growing home prices, which is not Ferndale specific, but rather region and or nationwide.
Okay. All right. I'm going to open it up for public comment at 8:04. Is there anybody here in the audience who would like to provide public comment on item 6C of reprogramming homebuyer down payment assistance to funding code enforcement? All right, seeing no one in the audience, I'm closing public comment 8:05 and bringing back up Emily and turning it over to council to ask questions about this one.
Through the chair, you mentioned we couldn't find a vendor to help with this. And I guess I just don't understand what that relationship would be. Would it be like a mortgage broker or somebody to administer the funds?
Yes, so this was a creative ask on taking it on as a project. Ferndale would have been the first Michigan-based community, Oakland County-based community to successfully pull off this project. Most people haven't gone for it because it does prove challenging. And I think originally when we were applying for this program, it made sense, and we did have a couple eligible vendors. And to your question more directly, vendor is referring to a third-party organization that would handle the intake of applications, the vetting of income qualifying, and then would operate as the transfer of funds and/or ensuring that the funding is being used by the applicant to go directly to the specified source of a down payment on a home in the city of Ferndale.
If I recall, was this related to the 5 homes that the city?
No, I would say to my understanding, it was not related to that. More towards an effort of forwarding home affordability.
Okay.
So same time period, but an unrelated project.
Okay. Well, I was also part of a team that helped do down payment assistance, and that is just as complicated as the wraparound services for home repair and else. So I think this was one of those innovation attempts, and we learned that we need to redirect. So. I'm out of questions. Okay, we're out of questions. We need a motion to proceed. Thanks, Emily.
All right, we're on a roll. So I'll move to approve the Move to approve the reprogramming of CDBG homebuyer down payment assistance funding to code enforcement as submitted by building inspector.
By James, supported by Mikulski.
James,
Yes.
Mikulski,
Yes.
Piana.
Yes. Thank you, Roger and Emily, for walking us through complicated CDBG stuff. And we have some direction from council on policy. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda is consent agenda. I will read it in its entirety, and the council members can decide. 7A, approval of the September 25th, 2023 meeting minutes. 7B, approval of the municipal credit and community credit contract for fiscal year 2024 with SMART, and authorization for the city manager to sign the contract. 7C, approval of the September 20th, 23 joint city council planning commission zoning ordinance workshop minutes. 7D, approval of the listed appointments and reappointments to city boards and commissions. Approval. 7E, approval of the special event permit for Jingle and Mingle, November 18th through 19th. 7F, consideration of treadmill purchase from American Home Fitness at a cost of $3,198.98. And 7G, approval of bills and payrolls as submitted by the finance director and subject to review by the council finance committee. What is council's pleasure?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved by Mikulski and supported by James.
Mikulski,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Piana.
Yes. And now we are moving on to our regular agenda. One item this evening, and is A, consideration of new Ferndale Arts and Beautification Commission ordinance and the repeals of former Beautification Commission ordinance section 216 through section 223 and the 2000 City Council Arts Commission resolution. Who is presenting this tonight?
Through the chair, I'll go up and present it, and while I mosey up there, I'll ask our staff liaisons to acknowledge our commissioners.
Here from Arts and Cultural Commission, as well as Sadie Stardella. They are both active members, doing wonderful things, and I'm excited to see that they're here tonight representing.
Hello, and I wanted to acknowledge Ed Minus, who is the chair of the Ferndale Beautification Commission. He's been a great leader for the past year, and we look forward to continuing him on the new commission in the future.
Thank you, and I'll acknowledge their acknowledgement by acknowledging Kara Sokol and Michael Larry as our staff liaisons.
Thank you.
Okay, I am really playing a facilitator role, so I really credit all the commission's commissioners for doing their work. I worked closely with our ordinance committee, which is chaired by Kat Bruner James and Ray Lon. And we worked with the ordinance committee to fashion a way to help us get to a FAB commission. I credit Laura with assisting on that acronym. I had it backwards. I can't believe I didn't see that. So the mission here is still really consistent with both previous district commissions. So to emphasize and strengthen the city's ability to promote beautification of public spaces and promote artistic and cultural opportunities for residents and visitors. So that's the general mission that's taken out from the ordinance language, the new ordinance language. So I want to be clear, we thought long about what to carry forward, and so we understand through the liaisons and council and staff where the commission's energies are right now and what's already in process. So we want to make sure that everyone understands that that carries forward through this mission as well. That includes, an interest in the beautification of public space, a community orientation towards their mission, towards their projects, beautification awards and holiday awards carry on as always, and the art census is a wonderful project that is in progress right now. That progress can continue and should continue as long as the new commission supports that, as well as our programming support. What we're leaving behind from this ordinance, focus really is more on the infrastructure and public health role that the commission was designed to play in the original beautification ordinance that was drafted in the 70s. It was just a different time, different place, and different community with a different government. So that means, we're less de-emphasizing emphasis on planning for streets and highways, alleys, parks, playgrounds, and yards. That has been simplified to public space, right? And so we've really just kind of made that more simplified, and I think it clarifies the intention a little bit. We are stepping away from having the commission take a public health planning role and a fire prevention disease mitigation role. There was certainly a connection, an argument to be made by connecting that to beautification efforts, but it does make it more difficult to have clarity of mission, for sure. So former commission members, we are inviting you to reapply for the new commission. I will say effective as of ordinance adoption. Part of the ordinance does repeal previous commission instances. So the previous beautification commission ordinance and the art commission, which was actually established by a resolution, it wasn't codified. Both of those items would be repealed and replaced with this new ordinance that we're talking about tonight. Once that happens, please reapply and we will get the new commission staffed up as soon as possible. Some opportunities. The mission-oriented programming, I know that the beautification awards are certainly going to be coming up with the holiday, as well as the holiday light awards. I have here some copies of a small starter project as well for the new commission. We're partnering with Ferndale Elementary Schools on a Decorate the Snowplow painting contest. So really our goal is to engage our youth and have our youth engage with our public services at the elementary level. We love that. So we have a couple new snowplows that we commissioned last year, and these students are going to be invited to submit some designs to to depict a wintry mix that's going to beautify our snowplows and make it a little bit more fun for kids to watch us plowing those streets this winter. So the details of that are right here. But the superintendent is working on communicating that with the elementary school principals to move forward. Some logistically, the board application process should open up as soon as possible. Coordinate that with the city clerk. And we will have to address the commission social media account updates. I'll leave the director of communications to speak to that if questioned. And of course, we will schedule a new orientation with the city clerk. We are post-election. We are looking at implementing a new standard orientation for all boards and commissions, and we just implemented a test with the new commission in July, and we'll continue to make that standard for all boards and commissions as we go into the new year. And then I have to assign a new staff liaison, which is the role of the city manager to do so, but I will do so after the board is adopted. Left it short and sweet. I wanted to leave more room for discussion.
Can you put that back up, that last slide?
Right here? Yep.
Yeah.
Through the chair, it's yours.
Thank you for that presentation. I'll open it up for questions from council. I had a question about timing. The logistics, and I know tonight creates the ordinance and nullifies past resolutions. And you did mention some things here about timing and after the election. Do you want a lot of this logistics completed before the end of the year? Is that what your intention is, or would you? What's your timeline expectations around this?
I see no reason why we can't move forward. I was speaking specifically to an in-depth orientation from the city clerk. I might deprioritize that. In a perfect world, I would orient a board with city clerk's board and commission orientation process, but the timing of that in October, a couple weeks out from the election, I'm going to let him focus on election administration.
Okay, and then if we approve this tonight, when would be the first new meeting of the board expected? Is that after the application process? How long do you expect the application?
Application, then we have to appoint those and confirm those appointments, so we can move at the speed of the appointment process.
Okay. How much time do you expect for the open applications for the reappointment process? 2 weeks or a week?
We can post it as soon as possible. I think we could get that posted by Wednesday for sure. And it's a 9-member board, so we need 6 minimum to chair the commission.
Yeah, one of my interests, and I would love to hear other council members on this too, is to make sure there isn't a drop in timing, so that there's cadence going forward and there isn't a gap, because I like to keep it going.
So through the chair, that was my big concern tonight as well. We have the beautification tour and the beautification commission meeting on October 26th and the Arts and Cultural Commission meeting on October 19th. And I am just not sure how the timing would work from an operations standpoint. Of course, our next city council meeting is not currently on the website, and I'm struggling to know what the date of that would be.
23rd.
23rd, okay. So we would have an Arts and Cultural Commission meeting that would not be able to meet because that commission would no longer exist on October 19th. On October 23rd, we could potentially appoint the new board to this commission. And currently, the Beautification Commission has that beautification tour scheduled for October 26th.
Through the chair, should the ordinance be adopted tonight, both those commissions are repealed. There is no quorum requirement, so that'd be a merry group of residents meeting on a beautification tour. And all those other events, you mentioned an Arts Commission meeting. There won't be an Arts Commission, so that's just going to be a meeting of residents. And I would say the same thing, that I don't see a reason why the beautification activity couldn't go on as planned.
Okay.
Because there wouldn't be a quorum requirement.
Through the chair, I'm not normally one to look to be a stickler for bureaucracy, but is that okay? We can do that for sure. Like, we can get on the bus, the smart bus, and do all of this, and potentially pick the houses that could then be submitted to the new commission for the beautification awards.
I personally don't see an issue with that, but I'll ask the city attorney.
Okay. I'll roll with it.
Yeah. My interest is not to impede their work and go as planned, and we will still acknowledge their volunteering and beautiful programming and recognitions, because we value that. It just is a bureaucratic change over here and trying to make it work. That's kind of how I see it. Are you guys on the same page with that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Through the chair, if I may just follow up on timing a little bit, because what I'm hearing is that upon the sort of repeal and dissolution of the existing commissions, interested residents can meet and discuss mutual interests. They just can't decide anything. They can't decide award winners. They can't, award the snowplow painting contest recipient. Am I right about, am I understanding the?
There'd be no commission that would formally nominate or accept anything. So, being that you're in transition, set group of people could submit their recommendations for beautification awards to the city manager's office. The city manager can deliver that message to the new commission.
I see, okay. Smelling what I stepped in. Trying to come up with something silly, didn't work.
And then, Councilwoman James, the deadline for submissions for the elementary snowplow contest is November 9th, and that board should be formally seated by then and shouldn't have a problem appointing and selecting candidates for awards.
One more question about timing. I think as has happened in the past, there's some administrative time between when the sort of call for applications goes out. You said that might be able to go out as early as Wednesday. And then if I recall correctly, and I'm looking over at the city clerk, there's some period of time that you would need to compile those applications, get them to the mayor. The mayor needs to have time to review them. Are we talking about doing all of that by October 23rd?
By the 19th, in order to get it on the council packet. I'm committed to doing that. I don't want any time delays. I want to keep this commission going. I will find the time and make it happen.
We'll have the application ready in the morning.
Awesome. Thank you. I do mention that I will be at the Michigan Municipal League concert on the 19th, or conference. So I'll leave it up to staff for the duration of that. It looks like it's going to be up for a week. I commit to a 3-day turnaround if you can get it to me by the 17th. That's a 2-day turnaround for me, but I will plug that in and work with council, as I always do on appointments.
We can forward applications as they come, probably, and just flag this specific commission.
Yes, that would be helpful. All right. And I just wanted to say thank you to the commissioners for collaborating and figuring out how to merge and become one. There's been a few challenges, I think, along the way. From a council perspective, hard to appoint people and fill all the seats on both commissions. I've also had some commission members who've gotten appointed who took some of the outdated purpose and intentions to heart and really tried to serve in that way. And I think there were some frustrations there. And I also think that I just can't believe the creativity and passion on both, and combining them is going to make it a pretty powerful, fabulous commission. And I'm really excited to see where this combined group and brain power and energy goes. Quite exciting. For me, anyway.
And through the chair, if I can jump onto that a little bit too. So both as a member of the ordinance committee and just, as a council member as well, I recognized before I even took office that having an arts and cultural commission and a beautification commission, and there's an excellent garden club that's not part of the, it's not an official city board or commission, but does a lot of related gardening and beautification activities. I recognized that there was an opportunity to sort of strengthen the internal capacity of these separate groups by really combining forces, and I'll echo the mayor's comments that I'm really grateful to the commission members for being open to that and participating in this process and giving your input on sort of what you want to continue versus, what we're ready to sort of see sunset, and how you can really combine efforts and make them even stronger moving forward. I'm looking forward to sort of simplifying and strengthening the activities in the future. And I do urge folks who have been involved in these commissions, who want to continue to be involved, please submit your application. Though there's nothing in writing obligating us to reappoint existing members over new members, I suspect that there will be a preference for folks who've been involved and have demonstrated their commitment to these groups to be reappointed before new folks are fit into the open positions. That was certainly something that we contemplated on the ordinance committee as being our hope to carry forward with committed members. So I think this is a really great opportunity moving forward.
So through the chair, echoing all those sentiments, plus some, my first taste of Ferndale city government, besides backyard chickens and the ordinance, was on the Ferndale Beautification Commission. And I love both of these commissions. I think they have brilliant people, brilliant ideas. I am sad to see some of the scope be lost. I really thought that there was opportunity to explore alleyway improvements and public health sort of modeled gardens, and it just was beyond the capacity of the commission. It proved to be a little bit too complicated. I think we have some real strong talents, and Lynn, please, for the love of God, apply and stay on Instagram. Suzanne Janik, please apply and stay on Facebook, because you've both done such a remarkable job building the visibility of these commissions and really engaging people and getting people to want to participate in the commission, in the arts, in the beautification, and improving their home and improving their garden. And it has been remarkable to watch. So I really think that this is a new opportunity. Now that there's going to be some budget allocation, some of these bigger, broader ideas can be a little bit more actionable. And having me not spread so thin between two commissions bopping around on the same day is music to my ears. I enjoy that. So I'm very excited about this. I think this is great. And I'm really looking forward to seeing new programming and new ideas come out of the commission.
Thank you. And I also wanted to say thank you to Michael and Kara for being supportive partners in all of this, and the ordinance committee, because we're actually making it an ordinance and not a resolution. And I just want to remind people that this is not our first ordinance rewrite on a boards and commission. When I don't know, 6 years ago we redid FESC, and that needed a new updated and refreshed purpose and why, and the Board of Commissioners there helped tailor it to the needs, and I think it's been a very productive, and that group has been really helping the city hit some of our climate goals and help set the climate goals. So just really appreciate all of it. All right, we need a motion.
I move to approve the new Ferndale Arts and Beautification Commission ordinance as prepared by the Ordinance Committee and submitted by the
Moved by Mikulski and supported by James.
Mikulski?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Piana?
Yes. And that moves forward, and look forward to seeing all the applications. All right, we are closing the regular agenda, moving on to call to council, starting with department updates. Take it away, city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Piana. We'll begin with our assistant to the city manager, Denise Woods McSwain.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is just an announcement that the city's quadrennial survey is set to go out this week, put on by Cobalt Community Research. Is set to be in mailboxes by October 11th, which is this Wednesday. And this first wave of surveys will be due by October 21st, which is a Saturday. And there will also be a second wave, so if you don't get your survey turned in time, don't worry. A second wave will go out around October 30th, and that'll be due November 11th. If you don't get a survey in your mailbox, you can also submit online at cobaltcommunityresearch.org /Ferndale and use code Ferndale. That's not case sensitive, and you can spell it wrong. And if you have any questions, you can email me at dwoods@ferndalemi.gov.
Thank you, Denicia. Next, our DPW Director, Jim Jameson.
I have a couple quick updates, 2 project updates. The Sylvan Water Main project is wrapping up next week. The Woodward moves, there's a few updates. Majority of the bus islands have been completed. The cement work at Marshall, 9, and Camborne is ongoing and about halfway done at each intersection. The detours will remain in place throughout the duration of that, and they will not change direction. And you can see on the city website the details of those detours. The sidewalk repairs are occurring at the same time as the work at those intersections. Paving will be done soon. And then moving on to the program update, I'll say that the residential leaf pickup begins at 10:23. First week is the entire city. There's some more details on the website that goes over scheduling, and I'll update again at the 10:23 when we're in there for the leaf season. That's it.
Detailed schedule also included in your newsletter. If you haven't seen that, open her up. It should be at home. Next is Chief Emmy. A big achievement for our police department.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Delighted to say that we've completed our reaccreditation process. The term "it takes a village" applies to this police accreditation as well. The efforts were led by Sergeant Danielson, who did an incredible job, represented our city and our department very well. She's been asked several times to help other departments facilitate and counsel them, provide consulting to help them achieve their goals as well. On the 27th, we received our reaccreditation. We are officially one of 25 agencies to receive reaccreditation. It's easy to get accredited. It's much harder to become reaccredited because you have to, not only do you have to talk the talk, we have to walk the walk with your proofs. So we were very proud of our department, Sergeant Danielson in particular. On another note, we are hiring police officers right now. If anybody's interested, please send them to Ferndale Jobs. Apply for the police officer position. We have a few conditional offers out there, but we have a couple more openings, so we're always looking for qualified candidates. And and we are in the middle of our Citizens Academy. We had 1 week down, and it was a fantastic turnout. Very engaged by the end. They always start out quiet. By the end, everybody's laughing and joking and asking really good questions and very engaging. A couple members of our Community Police Advisory and Review Board are in attendance, and they're learning a lot about the way their police department operates. So if the doors are always open for council or city staff to drop in anytime. So we'll be back here on Thursday from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. If you just want to drop Officer Malmeister a line that you'll be in attendance, we may or may not be operating out of the council chambers depending on what week of instruction it is. So thank you, and that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Congrats on the reaccreditation. Congrats on the reaccreditation.
Thank you, Chief. And on a more stimulating topic, our Director of Finance is going to just put out a reminder about the audit.
Afternoon or evening, actually. Fall is a time for apple cider and falling leaves and our annual audit engagement. And so we started today. Got them off to a good start. We did a lot of preliminary work before they got here. The goal is to get them in and out of here as soon as possible. They're scheduled to be on site here in City Hall for the remainder of this week, part of next week, and then we have scheduled a follow-up for the final week in October. And it's going along pretty good so far. I say so far because there's always a hiccup. Hopefully the hiccups won't be that bad this year. But we have started, and I want to give a huge thank you to the directors that I've reached out to for the information in their respective departments. That's been very helpful, and I will probably be bugging you guys a little bit more as the next couple of weeks go on. But that's kind of what's going on in finance. And if you see us looking a little ragged, that's why.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, Phil. My thanks to Michelle Armand and the rest of the team as well. I will also be noting for the auditors that we would like to target the final city council meeting in December, because that is when this council will finally meet for the audit. Sometimes they missed that target the last 2 weeks, so just know that that's on, or last 2 years, that is on my mind. So. Next, our DDA director, Jenny Beaker.
All right. Along the lines of beautification and public arts, visual things, we will have the city's art walk. It's going to be a self-guided art walk this Saturday, rain or shine. There's plenty of information that can be found online. This will be celebrating the You Belong Here mural program. We also have a lot of engagement from our businesses, other public arts, other creative activities that some of the businesses are sponsoring. So you can visit downtownferndale.com and see an interactive map and pick at the places where you want to go, learn a little bit more about the arts in Ferndale. We also have a double feature movie that is planned for this Friday night, the 13th. We're going to be showing Ghostbusters, the original from 1984, and then the newest sequel to that, Ghostbusters Afterlife. There is a chance of rain this Friday, so if that does happen, we will be looking to reschedule in the future, but we're going to cross our fingers and maybe call it on Thursday evening. And then looking ahead at the end of the month, the downtown trick-or-treating will be on Saturday, October 28th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. And we'll be publishing a trick-or-treat trail that can also be found online.
Thank you. Next, our special event director, Michael Larry.
Okay, besides ghosts and goblins that happen on Halloween, we also have pumpkins. And what do you do after you celebrate Halloween and you have pumpkins in your lawn? Well, the city of Ferndale is going to provide us the Halloween pumpkin waste dumpster that'll be placed at the Harding Park, so you can dispose of your pumpkins starting November 1st and run through November 6th. That again is going to be, the dumpster is going to be held or placed at the Harding Park this year. So make sure that you don't throw them in the trash. Make sure you don't put them at the waste bins, the food waste bins at the different parking lots of the different parks. But make sure you take it to Harding Park at the dumpster for disposal. And also, for Jingle and Mingle, thank you for approving. I want to share that this is second annual food drive campaign that will be supporting the Renaissance Food Pantry here in Ferndale. And We want to make sure that we encourage all local businesses and residents who would like to participate to please call me at 248-546-2361 or send me an email at mlarry, that's 1R, L-A-R-Y, at ferndalemi.gov, and let me know if you'd like to help participate or volunteer to help make that happen, because this is really the right time and season to give. And so we want to make sure that this takes place. And the actual event is November 18th and 19th, but we'll be doing the food drive for the whole month of November. So to make sure that if you can't do it on the 18th or the 19th, you're welcome to drop off your dried or canned food items in any of our different locations that we'll be advertising through our social media of our drop box, the campaign boxes. So that's pretty much it. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Michael, and I think the comms team is going to be pushing out information on the pumpkin plop. You can't say it. Next is Fire Chief Robinson.
Good evening, everybody, Mayor and Council. Proud to announce we will be having a fire department open house this coming Saturday, and it's the first one in 2 decades. The last one was actually 20 years ago, so it's exciting to bring it back to our community. We're going to have a lot of great demonstrations throughout the day. We're cutting up cars, but we're also integrating some great community education into it. We're going to have free CPR training throughout the day, and we're going to end the event with fire extinguisher training, as long as the weather allows us to. So we really want to make it a great demonstration of what we do, but also allow people great access to some things. So it's fun to bring that back, and I'm excited that we are doing that this year. That'll be at Fire Station number 2 on East 9 Mile, just east of Hilton, from noon to 4 on Saturday the 14th. And then just a reminder for anybody that because we did get the workforce grant, so we're about to start selecting candidates. So if you know of anybody who's an EMT that wants to go to paramedic school, but maybe has some barriers or needs some assistance to go to school, have them get in touch with the fire department as soon as possible, because we're going to start working on choosing our 6 candidates. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Chief. The Finance Committee will be meeting for a tour of the fire facility prior to that event at 11 a.m. at Fire Station 1. And finally, Christina will allow you to bring us home some positive news.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this past week, Senior Planner Kyle Bryce and I attended the Michigan Planning Association Annual Conference, where the City of Ferndale and Smith Group were officially presented and awarded the Planning Excellence Award for Best Comprehensive Master Land Use Plan for Plan Ferndale. So if anyone doesn't remember what that was the Climate Action Plan, Master Land Use Plan, and Parks and Recreation Plan. So we're super excited about that, super grateful for everyone's help during that. So there was a professional photographer there, so if I'm able to get my hands on some of those pictures, I'll be sure to send them to communications. So thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations again.
Congratulations, Christine and Roger, and to all the team. Fantastic job. Mayor, I'm sorry, yes, Dean.
Oh, you've got a few things on
I
your
forget
plate.
you up here, yeah. I like the...
A big reminder that we have an election being held on November 7th of this next month, rather, less than a month away. So far, we've mailed out 2,928 ballots, and we've received 255 of those back. That doesn't include any of the mail from this weekend because today is a federal holiday. And a reminder for voters that they can continue to request a ballot at mi.gov/vote, or they could stop by our office and we could actually hand them a ballot. Just bring proof, a photo ID rather. AV ballots can be mailed or dropped off back to our office through 8 p.m. on election night. And then something that we're very excited for the very first time, we'll be able to implement early voting. That is going to occur at the Hazel Park Community Center. The City of Ferndale is partnering with Oakland County, the City of Hazel Park, and Royal Oak Township. And early voting will occur from October 28th through November 5th, from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on each of those days. The exception is Thursday, November 7th. Early voting will occur from 12 to 8 o'clock that day. Anybody who's partnering with Oakland County can also go and vote at the Waterford Oaks Activity Center at the same exact time that the Hazel Park Community Center will be open as well. So, and again, if you want to vote in person, you can still do that. November 7th, Election Day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
Mayor, now it's back to you.
Excellent. I'm just going to start with Laura and then Kat.
I have nothing additional tonight.
I will just make a couple of comments tonight. One is, speaking of that federal holiday, I haven't talked about this at the dais before, but I just wanted to touch briefly on why I don't stand for the Pledge of Allegiance at council meetings. I did for quite some time, and I don't know, somewhere around a year ago, decided not to any longer, in part because of my personal feelings about the origin of the Pledge of Allegiance, which coincidentally was written for a Columbus Day celebration, sort of turn of the century, turn of the 20th century, and really was rooted in anti-immigrant assimilation rhetoric that makes me deeply uncomfortable. I have no judgment of folks who see it differently and decide to participate. I just wanted to, make a couple of comments about why I don't. And if you're interested in reading a little bit more, there's a couple of pieces I would recommend. One's from the Washington Post, titled "The Ugly History of the Pledge of Allegiance and Why It Matters." Another one from Smithsonian Magazine. This one's free and easier to find online if you don't have a Washington Post subscription. How the Pledge of Allegiance went from a PR gimmick to patriotic vow. And so I'd like to sort of pivot from a lot of folks don't particularly celebrate Columbus Day any longer, and so I wanted to remind folks that a lot of us do prefer to focus on today as being Indigenous Peoples Day. In some years in the past, we've recognized it more formally as a council through a resolution of some sort. Candidly, this last couple of weeks got away from me, so I didn't think to bring it to anyone's attention or put it on the agenda, but I just wanted to acknowledge it informally. So if you have an opportunity later this week to, on your own initiative, take some time to learn more about or contemplate folks who were here long before the vast majority of us, and how these lands were utilized before, and how they were taken quite violently in most cases all over the country. I think this week is a good time to think about that. And pivoting again to more positive local concerns, I'm going to sort of embody Councilmember Leaks May tonight, because I know that she would be letting folks know that Ferndale School's homecoming is this weekend. Specifically Friday, there will be a homecoming parade, a gathering starting at 4:30 in the afternoon. So if you are interested in celebrating with the Ferndale Schools community, come out to the parade, or to, I believe they also have a festival at the, or a gathering at the high school, including a football game in the evening. So everyone, I hope that there's good weather for that, and I don't know if council members are participating in the parade.
I will be.
Awesome.
Thank you for mentioning it. I'll
All right.
cross it off my list.
That's it for me.
I do want to thank you for sharing your reasons for not. Nobody's asked me, and I've respected your position and opinion on it. And we've had lots of deep conversations about it over the years that we've served together. So thank you for taking a position. I also wanted to say that The city council resolved not to acknowledge Columbus Day in 2018 going forward, which is why you don't see a regular agenda item. I will tell you though, every year I get about 20 to 30 letters from a student classroom from the high school or Kennedy telling us to pass the ordinance of not acknowledging, or resolution not acknowledging Columbus Day. So there needs to be some sort of communications to the school district that we don't acknowledge it, but the kids all write their own letters, and I think it's their first letter that they ever write to a mayor. And it is about not acknowledging Columbus Day. And I have written back to the teachers to let them know that we don't acknowledge it. So it's, I think, an ongoing continued education, because it's still a national holiday. So it's up to the city to continue putting out their position. A couple things, just announcements. Sadly, I cannot represent the city of Ferndale at SEMCOG's My Healthy Climate Action Plan. The region is putting together a climate action plan with greenhouse gas decarbonization, but I was appointed in my job role for the Regional Transit Authority, and our first meeting was last week, and a lot of trees came up as policy for replanting trees in the region, and I am still mayor, so I expressed Ferndale's position on trees and said that there needed to be more funding for trees in the right-of-way, but also there needs to be a program to help residents buy and plant trees in their private property after private trees come down after storms and or aged out and removed for being dangerous. So I think that message is being across that we're not the only city having the desire to plant more trees and figuring out a way to do it. Next up, I am extremely honored that Oakland County invited me to represent Oakland County in one of 2 seats at the City Today Institute on the City Leadership Forum on Mobility in San Diego. And I will be flying out on the 23rd for 2 days to represent the county that the City of Today Institute is covering for my participation. So I'm really honored to do that. And then finally, the Michigan Municipal League Conference is coming up. It is my final conference, and I think a couple more council members are going. Raylon, who's on the board of MML, has to be there, and I don't know if Greg is going or not.
Yes.
Councilman Polika. So there will be 3 of us there, and that is from the 17th through the 20th. Right? Is that next week? Next week, the 17th or the 18th through the 20th. And then finally, I wanted to say, kind of off topic, I was supposed to go to Israel for work on a delegation for women in mobility, leaving October 28th, and obviously I'm very disappointed that the trip has been postponed until peace finds its way back to Israel and Palestine. And I wish peace and safety for all sides of the issue, which is very complicated, and I just saddened that war has returned yet another country. And with that, I'm calling it at 8:55. Thank you and have a good night.